So when we have these conversations about Candy's relevancy on the show, I do think sometimes a lot of people miss what she brought out the gate. She had this ability to really give you great personal story, and she was always this very interesting peacemaker. So she was definitely a staple on the show. I really do believe in my heart of hearts that it was time for her to go. Now that Candy is not coming back to the Real Housewives of Atlanta season 16, I'm gonna say this, and I don't care what y'all think. In order for season 16 to be great, you at least need Portia and Phaedra back. Watch the full video. Make sure you go to my YouTube channel at @TheCarlosKing_.
Nobody expected Carlos King to be the one sounding the alarm. For years, Carlos has been the face behind one of reality television's most talked about franchises. He helped build a show that gave viewers explosive confrontations, unforgettable betrayals, shocking revelations, and emotional moments that kept people glued to their screens week after week. But now, something feels different. And according to Carlos himself, the problem may not be the network, the production team, or even the audience. The problem might be the cast.
Said that Alexis won that argument. I saw a lot of people online saying that Shannon won that argument, but I think that like both arguments work for me. You know what I mean?
Listen, there's no losers here, right? They're both winners. I chose Alexis because of her iconic line, "There's a door, Shannon Bador." I'm like, this woman used to be like this, like Bible-toting, you know what I mean? Like Christian conservative woman. She came out of that SUV smoking hot. She looks better than ever. And I just appreciate that Alexis brought it. So Alexis won to me because of the iconic line, but also because she's not at all who I remember. And that's special.
That's right. The same cast members who helped turn Love and Marriage Huntsville into a cultural phenomenon are now being accused of holding back, playing it safe, and refusing to give viewers the kind of reality television they originally signed up for. As ratings continue to spark conversations online, Carlos is speaking more openly than ever before. His comments have fans asking serious questions about the future of the franchise. Is the show losing its spark? Have the cast members become too concerned about protecting their images? And could this be the beginning of a much bigger problem happening behind the scenes? Because if Carlos is frustrated, that tells you something is happening. And trust me, by the end of this story, you may look at the entire situation very differently.
Listen, this show means a lot to Melissa in a very different way of what it means to Teresa. I think, to your point, listen, I think anybody who watches the show can see that Melissa wants to be the top dog, and she has trouble with Teresa constantly winning in the end. And this, I'm gonna tell you, it was the season where Danielle Staub, one of my favorites of all time.
Yes,
it was the season where Danielle Staub, unfortunately, Melissa, like, Teresa told me to pull the hair. What I saw was this excitement of Melissa getting the tea. Like, what she did, what? And I think of Melissa's mind, she was like, oh, baby, it's going down.
When Love and Marriage Huntsville first arrived on television, viewers immediately connected with it. The show felt raw, it felt personal. Most importantly, it felt real. Unlike many reality shows that seemed focused on manufactured drama, this series introduced audiences to couples, friendships, businesses, and family relationships that already had complicated histories long before cameras showed up. People weren't just watching arguments, they were watching lives unfold. Fans saw marriages tested in public. They watched friendships collapse. They witnessed betrayals that permanently changed relationships. The emotions felt authentic because the stakes were real. One of the biggest reasons viewers became invested was the storyline surrounding Melody Sherry and Martell Holt. Their marriage struggles became one of the most talked about stories in reality television. The heartbreak, the disappointment, the public fallout, it all felt painfully genuine. People chose sides, social media exploded with opinions, and suddenly the show wasn't just another reality series, it became a weekly conversation. As the seasons continued, more personalities stepped into the spotlight. Letitia Scott and Marcel Scott faced endless speculation surrounding their marriage. Maurice Scott and Kimmy Scott shared their own family challenges. Stormy Steele entered the picture and brought fresh energy. New conflicts emerged. Old wounds reopened. Viewers remained invested because nobody knew what would happen next. Every episode seemed to reveal something unexpected. Every reunion brought fresh tension, and every season left fans eager for more. But as success grew, something else started changing. The cast members became more famous, businesses expanded, brands developed, public images became more important, and according to many longtime viewers, that may have been the beginning of the shift. Because once reality stars become celebrities, protecting their reputation often becomes part of the game. The same people who once shared everything suddenly become more careful about what they reveal. The same individuals who openly discussed painful experiences begin controlling the narrative. At first, most fans didn't notice. The ratings remained solid, the audience stayed loyal, the drama continued. But slowly, some viewers began feeling like something was missing. The unpredictability that once defined the show seemed harder to find. The emotional honesty felt less consistent. And now, Carlos King appears to be saying what many viewers have already been thinking. The show may no longer be giving audiences the level of drama and intrigue they expect. And that's where things become really interesting. Recently, Carlos made comments that immediately caught the attention of fans. His message wasn't complicated. He essentially suggested that reality television cannot survive without compelling stories. That might sound obvious, but when those words come from the executive producer himself, people pay attention. Because Carlos isn't some random commentator watching from the sidelines. He's one of the people responsible for creating the show. He knows what happens behind the scenes. He understands how storylines develop. He sees the footage audiences never get to watch. So when he begins talking about missing intrigue and declining excitement, viewers naturally start wondering what he knows. Many fans interpreted his comments as a direct challenge to the cast, almost like he was saying, "Give us more honesty, more vulnerability, more reality." Because here's the problem, reality television only works when viewers feel connected to what's happening on screen. The audience doesn't just want polished images. They want truth. They want uncomfortable conversations. They want emotional moments that can't be scripted. And lately, many fans believe the cast has become increasingly guarded. Instead of revealing personal struggles, some viewers feel they're watching people manage their brands. Instead of emotional transparency, they're seeing carefully crafted narratives. Whether that's fair or not is a matter of opinion, but the perception itself is becoming a problem. And perception matters, especially when ratings start becoming part of the conversation. What nobody expected was for Carlos to publicly acknowledge concerns that fans have been discussing for months. That's what made his comments feel so significant, because once the producer starts talking about missing drama, it becomes difficult to ignore. Naturally, social media reacted immediately. Some fans agreed with Carlos completely. They argued that the cast no longer shares enough of their real lives. According to these viewers, everyone seems more focused on protecting business opportunities than creating compelling television. Others disagreed. They argued that reality stars shouldn't be expected to sacrifice their personal peace simply for ratings. After all, many cast members have experienced intense public criticism over the years. Who can blame them for wanting boundaries? And honestly, both sides have valid points. Being vulnerable on television comes with consequences. Every mistake becomes public. Every disagreement gets analyzed. Every personal struggle becomes content. That kind of pressure can be exhausting, but at the same time, reality television depends on authenticity. Without it, viewers eventually lose interest. And that's exactly the concern many people have right now. The audience wants emotional investment. They want stories that feel genuine. When that connection disappears, ratings often follow. But here's the twist. The issue may go deeper than simply lacking drama. Some fans believe the cast relationships themselves have changed. Think about it. In earlier seasons, many conflicts felt deeply personal because the relationships were deeply personal. These people weren't strangers meeting for television. They had real histories, real friendships, real rivalries, real emotional baggage. That history created tension naturally. There was no need to manufacture conflict because conflict already existed. Years later, many of those relationships have evolved. Some cast members barely interact outside filming. Others have established firm boundaries. Several have moved forward from old disputes. While that's healthy in real life, it creates challenges for reality television. Producers need stories. Networks need engagement. Audiences need emotional stakes. When relationships become distant or carefully controlled, finding compelling storylines becomes harder. Carlos appears to recognize that challenge, and his comments suggest he may be looking for a way to reignite the energy that originally made the show successful. The bigger question is whether that's still possible. Can a long-running reality show recapture the magic of its early years? History shows it's difficult. The longer a show stays on television, the more self-aware cast members become. They understand production, they understand editing, they understand audience reactions. Eventually, many begin approaching filming differently. Instead of simply living their lives, they start thinking strategically. That shift can change everything. And fans notice. You can see it in comment sections. You can hear it in online discussions. More and more viewers are saying the same thing. They miss the unpredictability. They miss the raw emotion. They miss the moments that felt impossible to fake. Meanwhile, others argue that viewers themselves have changed. Audiences today consume content differently. Attention spans are shorter. Competition is greater. Social media provides constant entertainment. Maybe expectations have become impossible to satisfy. Maybe reality television itself is evolving. But regardless of the cause, one thing remains clear. Carlos King's comments have reignited a conversation that isn't going away anytime soon. Because now, people are paying closer attention. They're watching episodes differently. They're analyzing cast interactions. They're looking for evidence that supports or contradicts what Carlos suggested. And every new episode becomes part of that larger discussion. The emotional impact of this situation extends far beyond ratings numbers. For the cast, these conversations can feel deeply personal. Imagine dedicating years of your life to a television show. Imagine sharing your marriage, family, friendships, and struggles with millions of viewers. Then imagine hearing people say you're no longer interesting enough. That can't be easy. Even if criticism comes from a business perspective, it still affects real people. Many cast members have built careers through this platform. They've launched businesses, expanded opportunities, created financial success. The show helped change their lives. So when discussions about ratings begin growing louder, uncertainty naturally follows. Questions start appearing. What happens next? Will producers make major changes? Could cast members be replaced? Will storylines shift dramatically? nobody knows the answers yet, but uncertainty creates pressure, and pressure often changes behavior. Some cast members may feel compelled to share more. Others may pull back even further. Relationships could become strained. New conflicts could emerge. Ironically, conversations about missing drama sometimes create new drama, and that's part of what makes this situation so fascinating, because we're watching multiple stories unfold simultaneously. There's the story happening on television, then there's the story happening behind television, and sometimes the second story becomes even more interesting than the first. As fans continue debating Carlos King's comments, one thing is becoming increasingly clear. This moment feels important, not because a single statement changes everything overnight, but because it reflects larger concerns that have been building for a long time. The future of any reality show depends on its ability to maintain emotional connections with viewers.
Once that connection weakens, rebuilding it becomes incredibly difficult. Carlos appears aware of that reality. Perhaps that's why he's speaking out now. Maybe he believes the show still has plenty of life left. Maybe he sees untapped stories waiting to be told. Maybe he simply wants the cast to remember what made audiences fall in love with the franchise in the first place. Whatever the reason, his comments have sparked a conversation that fans cannot ignore. Will the cast respond? Will future episodes deliver the kind of surprises viewers have been missing? Can the franchise regain the energy that once made it one of the most talked about shows on television? Those questions remain unanswered. But one thing is certain, people are watching. They're paying attention, and they're waiting to see what happens next. Because sometimes the biggest drama isn't the argument viewers see on screen. Sometimes it's the tension building behind the scenes, the uncertainty, the pressure, the possibility that everything could change. Carlos King has thrown the challenge out into the open. Now everyone is waiting to see who answers it. And if history has taught us anything about reality television, it's that the most unexpected twists usually arrive when nobody sees them coming. So what do you think? Is Carlos right? Has the cast become too careful? Or are viewers expecting too much from people who have already shared so much of their lives? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because this conversation is far from over, and something tells me the next chapter could be even more dramatic than the last.